Spoiler alert. Please be advised that the following will contain spoilers for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and we are finally here. We have got the very first episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I gotta say, this was a beautiful, nice setup, into what should have been, because keep in mind, this was supposed to come before WandaVision. So if you kind of think of it like that, this would have been an excellent way to kind of like ease us back into the MCU after that long break, with the whole pandemic and everything. But I gotta say, my goodness, I liked it. I like it. And keep in mind also, we only have 6 episodes in total. So after this episode, we have to go straight into the meat and potatoes of this whole series, and I cannot wait. So let's get into the breakdown and go over what happened. We begin with Sam Wilson reflecting on the moment when he received the shield from Captain America in Endgame. We jump to a mission where the criminal organization LAF kidnapped a military liaison. Falcon needs to rescue him before the criminals can cross the border. He flies into action and lands on the hijacked plane. We see that the leader of these hijackers is actually Bartrock the Leaper. Sam engages with the hostiles, but they manage to escape with their hostage. A high-flying battle ensues as Sam straight up murders folks one by one. Before the criminals can fly across the international border, Falcon flies into the helicopter to rescue the liaison. Well, I think it is fair to say that this is clearly the best action sequence that we've gotten from a Disney Plus show so far. I mean, this felt like it was straight out of a Captain America Winter Soldier movie. Now, if you had a chance to watch my interview with Anthony Mackie and head writer-producer Malcolm Spellman, then you'll recall that they did say that the same people who worked on the movies are the same ones who are working on the shows. Well, I think we can all see that that's clear here, given all these really dope action sequences. Now, I see my man Sam has also been getting some fighting lessons in or something. I mean, my man was using his wings and everything. Like, I was like, okay, Sam, do you even need a shield, bruh? Woo, okay. But for real, he was a whole goon. I mean, my man was legit murdering people. You see when he threw that bomb and just blew up the people in the helicopter? I mean, I get it. Yes, I know they're bad guys and stuff. But he's like throwing people out the planes. Like, pew, 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 just, oh. I mean, my man was blowing people up to smithereens, okay? He was not playing around. But for real, I really, really love this action sequence. It almost made me feel like I was watching a video game, so, hey, if Marvel want to come out with one, I'm down with it. But I was really, really impressed with what they did here. I also think it is pretty cool that Sam is still working with the Air Force doing covert work. I mean, it would seem as though the Avengers have probably gone their separate ways and doing their own thing. But this LAF group, they also seem to be kind of like the main villains for this series. But we'll get more on that later. One other thing, I actually really like the fact that, Sam is using Red Wing a whole lot more and, more efficiently. Because in the comics, he had this cheesy ability where he would have a psychic link to birds and stuff. And, he could just be like, to me, my trusty Falcon. And it was just always kind of whack. I get it. It worked back in the 60s, 70s or whatever. But, I just like the fact that he's got a smart bird, like a bird with, this drone. It's a drone, I want to say, that's based off of Tony Stark's technology. So, it's actually something he can work with. And it's not just something corny or cheesy. It actually makes sense, and I really like how they're incorporating that into this series. We head over to Tunisia, and Sam is repairing Red Wing. Torres refers to LAF and other groups out there that are trying to have the world unified without borders, believing that the world is better, and they all believe that the world was better before the blip. Well, this scene right here was kind of interesting because now we actually have a time frame, or at least a timestamp, I guess, of when this series is taking place. Now, Sam said that he had been working for the Air Force for about 6 months now. Now, I don't know if he took like a week or two off, after coming back from Endgame, but we can assume that at least 6 months have gone by. So what does this mean for the MCU timeline? Well, right now, we know that after Endgame, I want to say around 21 days, so a couple of weeks later, WandaVision happened, okay? Then we're going to have 6 months after Endgame, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier is taking place. And after that, 8 months after Endgame, you have Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, my only question with that is, are you telling me that Spider-Man and Falcon, didn't nobody know what Wanda was doing? Did that not make headline news? Did Sword cover all that up? I'm just saying, you had a whole town held under hostage. I'm just curious if the MCU is going to go back and kind of fix that up or put some clarity on it. Because I'm just like, I don't see how y'all could just ignore what Wanda just did. I don't know. A curly-haired man approaches Sam to thank him for bringing his wife back to him. And I think this is a really cool moment to show the global impact of the Avengers. Obviously, they're famous and getting all the credit for bringing back half of the universe after Thanos' snap. Something else that I really liked here was the fact that they showed Sam working on Red Wing. And I think that this just kind of highlights Sam's intelligence, because if you've watched Avengers Assembled or Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and that's a cartoon that actually shows on Disney XD, I believe. But it's actually a really cool show. Like, it shows I would say it shows the stuff that Marvel would like to do if and when they had all the rights to their characters. So you can see the Fantastic Four in there. You can see mutants. You can see whatever because they have all the rights there. But in that show, they showed Falcon being like really, really smart. He wasn't Tony Stark level smart, but he was kind of like, eighth in line, So, I mean, I just like the fact that they're showing that there's more to Sam here, especially with his intelligence. I mean, he also speaks Arabic. So I'm like, yo, that's dope. Now, Torres did brief Sam on the terrorist organization LAF. So they're sounding more like a terrorist organization who might thrive on anarchy, but they want a unified world without borders. What I like about this, for one, is we still don't know exactly what happened during those 5 years. I'm hoping we eventually explore that, but clearly the politics and so much more have changed for those who weren't snapped away. In this case, this radical group is falling right in line with the trope of the villains believing that they're the heroes. Whoever these LAF or Flag Smashers are, they probably do believe that they're doing the greater good out there. And by the way, I thought it was hilarious that they even thought about throwing in that whole conspiracy theory with Steve Rogers living on the moon. I mean, who would be crazy enough to come up with some wild fan theories like that? Torres as Mephisto. Sam goes to Washington to give a speech about Steve Rogers. Rather than taking on the shield that was given to him by Captain America, Sam donates the shield to the museum to rest alongside Captain America's display. Rhodey asks Falcon why he didn't take up the mantle, and Sam believed that the mantle belonged to Steve. Now, at first, Sam had said that Steve was gone, right? And that I was kind of thinking, like, does that mean he's dead, or did he just retire? And I'm probably thinking that it's the latter. I think he did retire, mainly because, like when Torres brought up like the Steve Rogers conspiracy or whatever, Sam didn't look sad at that point. So I'm thinking like, okay, if you're not sad then clearly, because if Steve had passed away, I think any mention of him would have kind of like made Sam feel some type of way, I mean, yes, Steve is old, but that's still like one of his best friends. So I think Steve is actually retired, mainly because, come on now, Marvel, man, y'all gonna bring Steve back. Ain't no way you not gonna bring him back. Stop playing. Steve know where the money reside. I told y'all, look, money talks. Okay, when Chris Evans talking about he retired and stuff, yeah, that's a negotiation tool. Because when people sit here and be like, man, we really would love Steve Rogers back, they will find a way. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. But we need to talk about this bearded guy real quick. he had came up to Sam and said, like, you made the right decision giving the shield back. I don't know. That just did not sit too well with me. And obviously we'll see later on why it did not. But, you know, I was like, wait, what you mean he made the right decision? As if, like, keeping the shield was the wrong decision? You got a problem with this man having the shield? Now, about Rhodey's question to Sam when he asked about why he gave up the shield, I think this is touching on Sam's internal conflict of repping the shield. For him, he may not feel worthy of it, but if we're going down the route of the comics, there may be some external issues as well. And that is when people didn't want to see him carrying the shield, mainly because he doesn't look like the right symbol of America to them. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, you know, how Sam's internal struggle and the external struggles kind of conflict throughout this series. Going through the museum, it also looks like they've updated Bucky Barnes' resume and his story. They've chronicled everything up to the events of Civil War and a little bit after. And it looks like they're still chronicling everyone that was vanished after the snap. I'll be very interested to see if somebody on the internet goes through this whole list just to see if anyone important is in there. Now, Rhodey also mentioned that, you know, allies are torn apart and, you know, or enemies are not allies. And basically all these different, like, shifts in alliances and the politics have just, like, transformed, you know, after the blip, or probably even before that. But I'm just sitting here thinking, like, yo, what happened? I mean, seriously, some stuff really went down clearly before the blip. I mean, remember, even Hayward in WandaVision was talking about you have no idea what was going on and what it took to keep the lights on and stuff. So I'm really hoping that this show will explore more of that. Actually, I had the opportunity to listen in on a press conference where Kevin Feige was talking about the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he specifically said that this series is going to deal with the trauma of the events after the blip. And it'll also talk about the stuff that happened before the blip as well. So it does seem like we are going to take a deeper look into the politics and society, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see. We jump to a scene of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier attacking an area and killing almost everyone in sight. He sees a young Asian man who begs for his life as he tried to escape. Bucky shoots him dead. He wakes up from his nightmare as we find him sleeping on his apartment floor. We then see him in a counseling session with a therapist as she asks him about his recurring nightmares. He denies having them, but he did admit to crossing a name off of his list of the people that he needs to make amends with. Senator Atwood, a Hydra pawn, was helped into office by the Winter Soldier. After they were disbanded, however, she abused the power the Winter Soldier gave her. He bugged her car to take remote control of it and knocked out the man in the car, and made amends with the senator as the police arrived. He continues to deny the fact that he's having nightmares. The therapist declares that Bucky has no friends and is alone, and he's been ignoring texts from Sam. He acknowledges that all of this is new for him, and all he really wants is a little bit of peace. But the therapist calls him out on his BS and says that the real problem is him being alone. I don't know about y'all, but that scene right there made me want the old Bucky back. I mean, y'all remember how cold Bucky was? I mean, he would come out with the knives and stuff, the chink-chinks, the chink-chink, chink-chinks, chinks, chink-chinks. You know, yo, give me the long-haired, masked-up Bucky with the knives and stuff. Please. Okay? That man was ruthless. I don't care what Marvel's got to do to retcon, whatever. I'm just saying, let that man just come back. He was a beast. By the way, take a closer look at Bucky's list. Notice any familiar names? Zemo. That is Baron Zemo, or Helmet Zemo. Despite the fact that Bucky was framed for murder by Zemo, it looks like Bucky still wants to make amends with him. Now that is going to be an interesting encounter I'm sure we'll see later on. But on a serious note, I will say that I do appreciate how this show is exploring mental health, especially with the PTSD that Bucky is going through. I mean, unfortunately, it is something that a lot of our vets, the men and women that serve our country, go through. So I like the fact that they're bringing some attention to this. And I also really like the fact that, the pairing of Bucky with Sam makes so much sense. Let's not forget, when we met Sam in Winter Soldier, he is like a grievance counselor or whatever for vets. So this is his specialty. He works with other vets like Bucky who deal with trauma. And, I'm just sitting here thinking like, man, I really do hope that Sam can like actually help Bucky, deal with all the stuff that he's going through. And we see that Sam has at least reached out to him, but Bucky is, he's leaving him on scene, so I'm kind of also hoping that, like, I know in the trailers they kept showing like that they don't like each other and they got this little rivalry and stuff. I hope they don't lean too much into that. I mean, it's fine, it's cute, it's funny here and there, but I do hope that they really get to the real deep stuff of, yo, bro, like, you're broken and I can help you, like, I hope that they actually come together and make it a meaningful relationship in that regard. But we also see that Bucky's situation, like the reason why he's here with this therapist is as part of a condition of his pardon, because in Captain America Civil War, he's a fugitive. He's a fugitive, or he was a fugitive on the run. That's why they, chucked him off to Wakanda, to kind of hide him out as well. So now that he's back, and, because he like helped save the universe, the government apparently has pardoned him, but they was like, yeah, but wait, you're still kind of crazy. Your mind is still kind of messed up. So, before you start coming out, shanking people, we need to make sure that you all right. So, they got him doing this, and he's got this 3-step plan where he cannot do anything illegal, he cannot hurt anybody, and he has to make amends with people, which, we'll find out more about later. I mean, I gotta say, I really felt bad for Bucky because if you think about it, he was right. At a young age, he went straight into the military. So he's fighting like wars. He almost dies. He gets experimented on, brainwashed by Hydra, put on ice, taken off ice so that he can like only go do these, violent missions, put back on ice, back, repeat, all that stuff. Comes back. He's a fugitive on the run. Then he gets unbrainwashed, only to get thrown into like another big Infinity War, to get snapped away, then to get brought back, to go back into fighting in Endgame. Bruh, my mind would be broken too. That's a lot of fighting. So yeah, I really feel for my man Bucky here. Mr. Nakajima meets up with Bucky to get some lunch. He puts into action his ultimate wingman techniques and asks out the server for Bucky for the both of them to go out on a date. The old man reflects on the passing of his son and becomes really sad. He mentioned how he'll never know what really happened to his son. So what we learned here was that Bucky's been going to lunch with Yuri for some time now, which is actually kind of sweet. And, at this point in the episode, like, I thought they were war buddies, because again, Bucky is like 106 years old. But as we'll come to find out, there's more to their relationship that meets the eye. Moving on, Sam is going back to Louisiana to visit his sister and nephews. Sarah brings up the fact that they may have to sell some of the family assets, including the family boat, to make ends meet. It appears as though she's taken some loans and the financial struggles are getting really heavy. Sam offers to help get another loan to help manage the situation. By the way, did y'all catch that with Sarah? She called him Uncle Sam. Get it? Captain America, Uncle Sam. I liked it. I thought it was cute. Anyway, we're seeing like the financial struggles that, Sam and his family are going through. And yo, man, shout out to Sarah. I mean, she's been doing everything she can do. You're talking about someone that's a widow. She's a single parent and she's a business owner, and she's doing the best that she can. And nevertheless, it's kind of messed up to see people falling into that money trap where you got to get a loan just to pay off another loan because you're already in debt. And, it's just a really messed up situation. We go back to Bucky on his official date with the young lady from the restaurant. The two sit down to play Battleship, and in the game, they have to share a little bit more of their background stories. She says that it's great that Bucky is spending time with Mr. Nakajima because he really needed someone to help him after the passing of his son. Bucky goes to visit him, and we discover that Bucky was the one who actually killed Mr. Nakajima's son. Wow. Did y'all see that coming? I didn't. I know when I was watching this, I was like, word? Woo! Man, could you imagine the guilt that you would be carrying around like that? Oh, this episode got real heavy right there. And that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the episode. In Switzerland, Torres is on a mission to track down the LAF criminal organization. He shows up to a secret meeting as masks are being handed out to everyone. A message comes up on his phone saying to run. It appears as though a robbery is taking place as the masked mob runs around to confuse the authorities. The masked thief attacks Torres with a great amount of strength. Yikes! Woo, man, my man Torres got that Kirk Franklin stomp. Woo! So clearly this LAF flag smasher organization is ramping things up a bit. Now, we don't really know what their master plan is yet or what they stole. But I know one thing, the fact that that masked robber was like that strong is definitely not a good sign. Now, from the trailers and, the announcements, we do know that Baron Zemo is going to be making a comeback. And maybe he's the big bad, in this entire thing. Maybe he's the one that's like using LAF, this organization to do his own bidding for whatever reason. Not to mention the fact that we're seeing somebody with like this type of increased strength. Is it possible that Baron Zemo or somebody else might have gotten their hands on the super soldier serum? That'll be a real messed up situation. Sam and Sarah are at the bank seeking a loan to keep the family business afloat. The loan officer is excited to meet Sam as he's a big fan of his. The banker inquires about how the Avengers are actually able to make money. The problem is that Sam has no income over the last 5 years. But as we know, Sam was gone before the blip. He does have money from government contracts to show proof of income. However, the terms have changed after the blip. Unfortunately, they are not able to get their loan. Sarah is understandably upset because Sam neglected the family business even though he was out there saving the world. So as mentioned before, I really do like the fact that they're going into this more grounded approach. We're seeing like the financial struggles. I like the fact that they even asked the question, how do Avengers make money? Because I really could have sworn Tony Stark was just bankrolling everybody. And I still to this day wonder, how did Vision buy that house for him and Wanda? We ain't see, what was Vision doing? He wasn't doing no Uber Eats deliveries. Man, I'm just saying. But either way, it is a very interesting question to explore because, again, before the blip and after the blip, how do you deal with all this stuff? I mean, you have to think about like all the crazy things and the crazy implications that will come along with this. I mean, imagine this, do all the people that just randomly show up, they probably don't have a job anymore. They probably don't have their homes anymore. I mean, if you were gone for 5 years and you come back and somebody's living in your house, is it still your house? You ain't make no payments on it for 5 years. Maybe the bank foreclosed and there goes that. And what do you do? Does the bank just automatically give everybody a massive loan? I don't know, but man, this is definitely something I'm interested in seeing how they flesh out. Torres sends Sam a clip of the attacker of the Flag Smashers. Sarah comes in and turns on the news. There's a press conference being held as they announce that there is now a new Captain America taking up the shield. Bruh, who is this great value Captain America? You see how the government did Sam dirty though? Man, they was probably lying to him from the very beginning, talking about like, oh yeah, just donate the shield. Yeah, oh, that's the right decision. Liars. They just wanted the shield so they can give it off to some other hack, whoever this dude is. By the way, for those of you wondering, this is probably going to be the U.S. agent from the comics. And I suppose you can kind of think of him as like a far-right conservative version of Captain America. Like he takes nationalism and being a patriot to like toxic level extremes. Now, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to play him off in the show, but he's definitely going to be probably a little bit opposite of what Sam or Steve Rogers would represent, if they had the shield. All I know is I don't trust them and I don't like them. Like, he got this punchable face. Look at his face. Don't his face look punchable? Like, you just look like, ooh, I don't like it, ooh. Anyway, that's all I got for today. What did you think about this very first episode for Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Do you think that Sam should have given up the shield? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, like I said earlier, keep in mind, we only got 5 episodes left, so we're about to get into the meat and potatoes of this show, and I absolutely cannot wait. Be sure to check out my other interview with the director, Kari Skogland, as she teases some of the twists and turns in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also check out my interview with Anthony Mackie and head writer and producer Malcolm Spellman. You really don't want to miss out on what they had to say about the interesting subject matters that this show is going to tackle. Don't forget that I will be going live every Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are going to do our live spoiler discussion and reaction to the episodes as they air that day. I'm really hoping to see everybody show up because, again, it's just really going to be a good time. Thanks again for taking the time to watch my video. I always appreciate it. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.